Hi, this is Demetria Clark, the director of Herbs Herbal School, and today we are talking to Kelli Hughart. Did I say that right?
That's right. Kind of sounds like yogurt. Yep.
Wonderful. And Kelli is really one of these people that's a lifetime herbalist. And I say that because her herbal origin story is just part of her life and her upbringing and where she's lives and it's connected. And I don't know how long we've known each other.
Gosh,
Is it like
it's been a
20
lot of.
years?
I know it's going to say it's been a lot of years. I don't know how many, but it's been a lot. Yeah.
And when I met you, you were an accomplished herbalist and health practitioner back then. So I'm so excited to have you on and to talk to you in this way. And so tell us, how did you get started in all of this?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your work, because you're educating herbalists out there and aromatherapists and then the birth arts and all that things. So I want to give honor and credit to you because,
Oh,
especially the Green Spirit program, if I can put a plug in for you.
sure.
I'd
We're
already,
green today.
there you go. Because I had already been making herbal medicine. It's a journey for all of us, but we start out somewhere. But I'd already been doing herbalism and stuff like that. But the Green Spirit program completely changed my life. I'm actually talking about it in my dissertation. But anyway, so yes, I want to say, first of all, to you, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And I'm just so grateful for you.
Well, thank you. That's really cool. You are probably one of the most educated students we've ever worked with because when someone doesn't stop, that's how we have to describe your educational journey. So how did this connection with herbalism start for you?
Yeah, my great grandmother was actually an herbalist. So back then they called them granny witches, granny herbalists, Appalachian, I'm Appalachian,
Hmm.
born, bred, and raised. And so she was actually an herbalist. And so I can't tell the whole story here because that was probably about 40 years ago. But about 40 years ago, I made my first herbal medicine in the house that I now live in. My
Oh, wow.
grandfather came home from the war and he built his house with his bare hands. And I was probably about 14-ish, teenager. And my grandma, you're going to laugh at this one. My grandmother would make us drink yellow root tea. That's what we called it then. Of course, we know that's Hydrostis canadensis, and that's an at-risk plant that we know we only use it now when either we grow it or from ethical, places. But that's how I got started. She made all of us grandchildren drink it. My grandfather had ulcers so bad, and he actually had to crawl to his company truck. He could not even walk. And I remember the story really well. He was actually in his chair right here in the living room, and he just said, "I doctored and doctored and doctored for years." That's what he called it. And he said, and they never helped me. And so he went to Catfish, Man of the Woods. I don't know if you've ever heard
Hmm.
Catfish, Man
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
Woods. Anyway, so long story short, that's when I started making my own first herbal medicine was yellow root tea, and we drank it every time we come into the house. He'd make us drink it, that and castor oil. like
Isn't it
like
funny what a grandma can make you do?
I know. I'm thinking about it now with my grandkids. I'm like on, but that's just the way it was, and my
Hmm.
grandfather actually was on the front page of the newspaper one time for growing his gourd. They were gardeners and, they lived through the depression. So they did all the things. Now really that was probably the only plant that my grandmother worked with. It was her mother that was the herbalist. But just over time, I latched onto it, and I think a lot of it was because I'm a highly sensitive person, and that's
Hmm.
what my dissertation is on. And so, going through my life crash, conventional medicine has failed me so many times, but herbalism has always been there. Flower essences has always been there, not only for me, but for my child, for my dogs. Those have passed on. My Weimaraner actually lived an extra. She was given 6 months to live, and she lived another 2 years with quality life because of herbalism. So yeah,
Oh,
it's been a passion
wow.
of mine since. And my daughter already, my daughter is a natural birther. She's birthed all her kids naturally, and and she's already made her first medicine. My grandkids already know. I think my youngest, I think he was 2 when he made his first herbal medicine of dandelion tincture. So yeah, so it's in our family, it's in our blood, and it always has been.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you and I share an affinity to I'm going to put on my headphones real quick. For some
Sure.
reason it's giving me an error, so I want to make sure that I don't mean to interrupt you. So let me just,
Hmm.
it'll help. Um all right. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So it's telling me that your default microphone has changed. Well, yeah.
Oh, I know.
It's like, oh, come
Technology.
on, man.
Yeah.
But anyways, so my grandmother is from Buncombe County, Virginia,
Oh, okay.
and you're from West Virginia. And I mean,
Uh-huh.
but
Both
there's
Appalachia. Yeah.
something special about the women from that area. Like my
Yes.
grandmother was a complete hell on wheels, like
Oh,
total
yeah. Tough.
terror.
So, I tell this joke, but it's serious. My grandmother, if my grandmother told my papa to get his hind parts home, that's just sort of the lingo of the time. He got his hind parts home.
The
So
getting got
yeah,
done.
that's the way it is.
I just love that. I love that. You're from one of my favorite states. Like, I love West Virginia. If it wasn't so far from my children, that's probably where I would be. It just reminds
Well,
me of where, I don't know. I just have an
it's
affinity and a connection. It's so freaking beautiful.
it's beautiful, and we can grow so many things. And of course, I have acreage in Virginia as well, where I grow at-risk plants as well. I got about 61 acres there, and but we can grow so many things here that that would grow like in China, and like their herbalism. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I can do the same thing here, and I've got the plants here, and I can walk out my door. Literally, I have an herb garden here. I also do aquaponics. I have an aquaponics system in my basement as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Like I'm all in. I had to downsize some of my plants to the point I was like, all right, we might have to put some of these outside. We've got some of them out on but yeah,
Wow.
I've had people come in and go, where's the furniture? I'm like, look, if I could get rid of all the furniture and have plants, trust me, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
Where,
my grandmother was the same way. I live in her house now, and the whole back porch, which is like a sunroom, but we
Mhm.
always called it the back porch. She had all her plants out there, so she was a plant person as well. Yeah,
Oh, I love that. I love that that affinity and that connection. And I love that you're growing at risk things that people may think, oh, I'll just get it from China. No, let's not get our herbal medicine from overseas. That
right.
we've had so many issues with adulteration and all kinds of other things. Find a local producer, grow it
Yes,
yourself. I mean,
yes.
there's huge programs just set up to help people learn how to do that and to keep,
Hmm.
like I'm always about supporting local economies any
Yeah.
way that I can. And
Yeah, and I
I
teach my
love that you do that.
apprentices. Yeah, and I taught I used to have 9-month apprentices as well. And, and I taught the same thing. I said, we don't know when the mill, God forbid, can stop or things can happen.
Hmm.
And I taught about adulteration because I think it's really important that we teach about that. And I don't think that everybody knows about that. So that's a passion of mine as well. And I always started my apprentices out, and even my daughter, anybody really that I taught, with easy things to grow first. Start with your mints. They like
Hmm.
to take over, but they're so beneficial, and depends on how you make them. You can get different benefits from the same plant based on what time it grew, when you harvested, whether you did a prep, which whether you did a fresh
Hmm.
plant tincture, whether you
Yeah.
did so many different ways. So yeah, I'm all about grow as much as you can and let your weeds grow. Actually, you'll appreciate this. All you herbal people are going to appreciate this. I actually bought cleats, and I sowed chickweed and white clover through my entire yard to try to get rid of the grass.
With cleats.
Yes,
That's
I bought these cleats
brilliant.
from
Oh my gosh, that's
they go
so
on the,
smart.
yes. Like I
Yeah.
got them on the bottom of my shoes, and my neighbor was like, "What are you doing?" And I have a grass
You
guy,
don't
and I was
want to
like, "Well,
know.
I'm trying to put you out of business," is what I told him, so that I could
I
have
love
my
that.
entire yard weeds weedy plants, things we can use. And that's my goal, is to completely eradicate grass. It's my mission in life.
I want to do some traditional like hedgerows. I'm like
Oh,
really like,
yes.
of course that's on the list of a million things that we have to do.
Yeah.
My list is a million
My
things I
list is
always
so
have to
long.
do.
I need a crew. That's what I
I
need.
know, right? Wouldn't that be great? Like,
Yeah.
just hey, 15 people drop by and they somehow get paid
Yeah.
an equitable wage. But I love that. So you have explored so many different modalities and combined them into different systems. And I would love to hear about your wellness practice and what you offer individuals in that.
Mhm.
And I'd love to hear more about your dissertation too. So,
Yeah. I'm really excited about the dissertation, because in the dissertation, I'll start there and I'll circle back. But in the dissertation, I'm talking about my recovery of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, as a highly sensitive person due to intimate partner violence. Conventional medicine completely failed me. I did the quote unquote right things. I was a therapy dropout. And I said, you know what? There's got to be a better way. I had a really, really life altering life crash moment when I didn't think I was going to make it through this world at all. And I said, there's got to be a better way. I remember I looked up, I heard the whisper, and the whisper said, look up. And when I looked up, I saw my grandbaby's face in the clouds. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way. And you have the skills, and you're going to find it. And so my dissertation is about plant-based therapy, flower essences, adaptogens, herbal nervines, and then also I'm layering in mind-body medicine, hypnosis, guided imagery, and these type of things, energetic medicine. And I have used that to create my own integrative hypnosis practice. I see clients typically, I do have a group program as well. So I have a group program that's a low cost program. Um, because I want to make it affordable for everybody. And then I have free stuff, obviously, on my website, on YouTube. So
oh, you have
my,
great content. You share
oh,
lots of
thank
really good
you.
information with people. So
Yeah, so
they should
that's my
check you out.
goal. Yeah, my goal is to share as much free stuff as I can, and then do a low cost for those people. And then, of course, working with me privately is obviously, a little bit more of an investment. But in my private practice, I'm going to teach them every tool I can. And if they're interested in herbalism and flower essences and aromatherapy, I'm obviously going to share that. And then I do an intake with them and make sure I'm, giving them the right suggestions based on their constitution and these type of things. But I have integrated that based on, just based on collecting all the information for years. And I've found that there are people that come to me for hypnosis who are not interested in like plant medicine, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I can teach them breath work, and, I can teach them other tools for like anxiety and whatnot. But my people, a lot of them are drawn to me because I, have worked with herbalism and aromatherapy for like what, 40 years now, basically. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow, I can just imagine the applications for something like this. I mean, veterans groups, children who've experienced different kinds of I mean, like just
Yeah.
this integrative approach to trauma is it's funny because like it makes so much sense.
Hmm.
It's just sad that we're so far behind on it. You know what I mean? Like
Yes, we are probably, I mean, in my
50 years
research,
behind.
I was going to say 50 years at least, but yeah, I think you're about right. I'd say between 30 and 50 years behind. And the research, there is some new reviewed research coming out on aromatherapy and PTSD, or what we now know for some people to be complex PTSD, because it's not one individual event, right?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
series. So those children who have high ACE scores like me, or then have chosen, unfortunately, dysfunctional relationships based on their high ACE scores, or, other types of trauma. Um, we are finally coming out with peer review research that says it's not just PTSD, right? This is complex PTSD. This is an ongoing thing. And when you have something that's been ongoing for a long time, you can't talk it out, with all due
Yeah.
respect. talk therapy, while very valuable, and I'm not against therapists, and I tell my
Mm-hmm.
clients, keep your therapist, and I have a lovely one, and I'm not trying to diss them, but it's not a panacea. And the body is a whole. We are a whole person, which we learned
Yeah.
this in our
Mm-hmm.
classes. A heart does not walk into a cardiologist office,
Yeah.
right? A
Yeah.
lung, you don't walk, a set of lungs doesn't walk into a pulmonary, right? We need a whole system approach. We need a whole body approach, a holistic approach. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's so awesome. I know that we forget. It's so easy in this culture to see an ad. Oh, this
Hmm.
will take away your depression or
Yeah,
whatever. And we're like, okay, that's a tool.
it
And
is a
every
tool. Yes.
therapy is a tool. What you're doing is tools, and drugs are
Mhm.
tools, and herbs are tools. And getting someone who knows how to use the tools in the toolbox effectively
Yeah.
feels like, I don't know, very hard. That's
It's
how
very, very,
very,
very
very
difficult. Yeah.
hard.
Because
I
you
was,
might find somebody who knows this one particular area, and they may suggest an herb, but they don't have the extensive knowledge to know. Like, somebody came to me many years ago and they said, my therapist suggested kava.
mhm.
And I said, well, tell me a little bit more about your situation. I was a martial arts teacher at the time, and she told me a little bit about it. And I was like, whoa, that's contraindicated for you. And she said, oh, it is. And I explained to her why and all the things. And she goes, oh. And so and again, this is nothing against anybody. I see this with medical
Mhm.
doctors. I see
Oh yeah.
medical doctors, therapists, psychotherapists that are really acting out of their zone of genius on things, and recommending things that maybe they read an article on, and maybe it is peer reviewed, and that's great. We need peer reviewed evidence, even in herbalism. We love
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not against that, but what they didn't get is the constitution, right? The energetics, like
Mhm.
the actual of knowing what's going on. And without that piece of the puzzle, which you and I know, we could be giving them an herb that is going to actually do worse or more harm. And so now then they go away thinking that herbalism doesn't work, or, that
Herbalists are a bunch of cuckoo brains, or
whatever,
they
no,
didn't
we're
care
cuckoo,
about what
whatever,
was
la, la,
safe
la,
for
la, la.
me. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, no, it was funny. Recently, someone that I love didn't ask me for advice.
Hmm.
They trusted some
Dr.
person,
Google, probably.
and they were taking so much turmeric that their skin was turning
Oh my gosh.
and their eyes were turning. I was like, dude, stop.
What are you
Well,
doing?
I probably should have asked you. Yeah, you probably should have, but
Maybe. There's a
like,
little tip there.
I'm like,
Hashtag pro
okay,
tip.
if you
Ask the
do ask, it will not
professionals.
be free at this point. You freaking blew the free advice. No,
Thank
but I
you.
mean, it's like, people, they just
Yeah.
sometimes they'll read something and be like, yeah, this is it. And sometimes
Yeah.
it is, and sometimes it's not.
That's the thing that is frustrating. That has been the thing that is frustrating for me. I've had clients have come to me 5, 10 years ago. And I said, we can work together. Of course, my prices back then were way cheaper than they are now,
Oh, I'm
obviously,
sure.
because I was
They're
like, wait a
probably
minute.
too cheap back then.
They were actually too cheap back then anyway,
Yeah.
but that's okay. But they would say, well, you know what? I said, well, it's going to save you more money to work with someone who's experienced and skilled. And these people will come back to me. And this is the part that's so hard for me as a practitioner. They will come back to me 5 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years later, and they just spin their wheels. And then they are worse. Especially, I see this with chronic illness people, which I know we all
Mhm.
need to have our journeys. I don't want to take away anyone's journey.
Oh, yeah, no, 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 no. I'm getting
So
that.
I'm not trying to take away anyone's journey, but chronic illness, like I specialize in people who have dysautonomia POTS or chronic conditions that are really not getting help with conventional medicine. And they'll spin their wheels and they'll spend their money on herbs, and they might have a whole cabinet of stuff that's not working. And by the time they spin their wheels and they spend their money and all that, that adds up to working with someone who can help you, and you can then move forward and do more of what you love in your life.
Oh, yeah. I always look, this was something that I tell people all the time is, uh, pay the friggin' expert.
Exactly. I do. I
I'm
have
not trying to install a toilet. I don't know how to do that. Oh want
Yeah.
to pay someone to do that. And
Well, I've actually done that. So
well,
now
I've
I'm gonna pay
helped, but
somebody
you
to
know
do
what I
it.
mean. But I
But
mean, the
used to be, yeah.
reality is that
Yeah.
we have such this thing that there's so much more value in trying to do it ourselves. And
Yeah.
there isn't some things, especially if it's stuff that you enjoy and you like. But
Yeah.
sometimes I'm
And
like,
if it's your zone of genius, obviously,
oh,
if it's your
yeah,
zone of
go
genius,
for
I'm
it.
going to blend my own herbal remedies. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I
you're
have
good.
a apothecary in my basement that at last count was over 1,000 jars. And there's
Yeah.
stuff sitting on the floor at this point. But then I've got a whole library and I have a
Hmm.
lending library. You have to come and sit in the library. You're not allowed to, it's an
You
in-house
don't leave
lending
my house with that
library.
book.
Well, because I lost a book, I have books that are from the 1800s that you can't get anymore.
Yeah,
They're very
yeah.
expensive. So I'm like, you can come. But if that's your zone of genius, that's great. But even I hire out, and there's nothing I think it's this idea that we're admitting defeat or we're not smart enough. And I think the value here is to recognize that someone else may have a zone of genius that you don't have and that you can learn from. And then, later on, if you want to make that your zone of genius, by all means, we'll probably need more whatever that person is doing anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's about also claiming our power. So
Yeah.
paying someone to do the job that to help us with something
Hmm.
isn't defeatist. It's saying
Mm-mm.
I'm owning the situation and I
Yeah.
believe I'm worth the expert help or the expert guidance
Yeah.
and then doing it because people have endless amounts of money for these shake formulas or
Yeah. I
whatever
mean,
scheme
I've
comes their
seen,
way and I'm like,
yeah,
ah.
I've, I have literally seen women pay, and seems to be more. I work mostly with women. I do work with men as well,
Mhm.
but I do work more with women, and it seems like number one, we have this, and this is a societal um, cancer, quote unquote, if you will. I'm not taking away from the diagnosis, but this is a societal problem that we have. That maybe is a better term. That women, we can't invest in ourselves. We can't invest in our health. And I'm
Bingo.
like, okay, but you're paying $500 for something that somebody signed a piece of paper and they're not even educated on what you're
Mhm.
taking. It may be doing more harm than good. Or then you get that, okay, now herbalism doesn't work. Whereas if you took the 3 months and ditching that stuff and you actually worked with someone,
Yeah.
because they're gonna tailor it to you. They're gonna say, okay, what's working, what's not working, what do we need to do, what do we need to tweak, what else can we do in this? And they're also going to give
And
you
you have a
tools. So
lifetime
I agree.
benefit.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely. And
you
then
pay one
lifetime.
and then it can last a
Yeah.
lifetime instead of whatever
$500 a month for something that and
kit or whatever is out. I
that's
mean,
exactly
and
right.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that those things don't necessarily have their place. As anyone who knows anything about me knows, I am not a fan of MLM kind of stuff, but
No, me neither.
we find a way to afford the things we want. And it
That's
is
right.
okay for us to afford someone to help
Our
us when
care.
we need it.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. I know for me, I think for me personally, one of the things that was an eye opener for me was my grandbaby at the time, grand number one, who's 8 now. He said, Mama, why you cry all the time? You need hugs. And what I realized was me not getting the help and the support that I needed and more importantly deserved
Hmm.
was affecting him. And we don't always think about it like that. Is whatever it is. And so now, of course, I need to do it for me. And I think,
Yeah.
I work with people with like smoking cessation and I work with like
Mhm.
anxiety people and chronic illness. So I do a lot of different work, but ultimately it needs to be for you. But sometimes you don't have that in you in the
The
moment.
inspiration to do it,
Yeah.
right?
I tell people if you can't do it for you, do it for your dog, do it for your
Yeah.
grandbabies, do it for
Yeah.
your children, whatever that quote unquote is. And then after you start healing, then you're going to see I'm worth it.
Yeah.
I'm worth it to do it for me.
I do love that. I
Yeah.
do love that. I feel like I heard someone interesting say something about the loss of ancestral knowledge
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
care over the last few generations has really distanced and separated humans from being able to say, I'm worth this for whatever is going on inside, not I make a lot of money, so I deserve a car. Like
Yeah.
that difference between taking care of ourselves and
Hmm.
whatever money can buy us, because we know
Yeah.
money can't buy a lot, so I
Right.
think it's really cool that you work with people in a way that helps them have some long-term effects and sustainability in their treatment. I
Yes.
think that's awesome. So where can
Yeah.
people find you?
Yeah, so I'm KelliHughart.com, Kelly with an I, Hughart.com, or Mama Kelly. Well, else you get there as well, MAWMAW, Kelly with an I.com, because everybody calls me Mama Kelly. Either one of those will get you to my website. And I always do like pro bono consultation. It's no cost, to see if we are matched to work together. More importantly, if I have tools to support someone, because I want to be ethical in my practice as well. And if I get and talk with someone and I don't feel like I'm the best practitioner for them, I'm going to do the right thing and refer them to someone else. So the call's free, and they can, jump on my website and schedule a call. I only work 2 days a week right now because I'm in dissertation. I'm almost finished actually with my research. But because of what we talked about is we have to take care of ourselves first, right? If you can't put your own mask on, you can't help anybody else. So I do
Mhm.
work 2 days a week right now, until I finish up my dissertation. But yeah, a phone call with me is totally free. And then we discuss whether or not there's resources there. If not, I refer them to somebody else. And then of course, if I have the resources for them, most of the time I do, unless it's something extremely complicated. Then we talk about what does that look like for us to work together.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that's always been a big thing for me, the referring someone on that I don't
Yeah.
feel like is going to be a good match or get benefit from working with me. And sometimes they come back and say, "You told me to try this out. I didn't like them. I do want to work with you." And maybe the vibe's different at that point, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think like that's
Exactly.
so important to remember that you don't have to be the perfect fit for everyone.
Right.
And
Right.
not everyone needs to get everything they need from one person, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
as you were saying earlier, staying in your zone of genius and stuff like that. I think it's like,
Right.
it's so important because not everybody, not every health provider can give every client everything they need. And they
Yeah.
shouldn't.
Exactly.
That's scary.
Right.
If
Exactly. I
they
mean, I
feel like they
refer,
can, that's a little like, oh, okay, how
yeah.
big's the ego, man?
Yeah, and I'll refer different tools. I mean, I'll say this is what we're going to do, but here's a tool from this
Mhm.
person I learned. From this person. Here's a resource from this person or whatnot. But you absolutely have to be in your zone of genius. I love baby herbalists. They're so beautiful. They're so wonderful. They're so excited, and I love their excitement. And also at the same time, we also have to understand that, and they need to learn too. We all need to learn, and we've all been white belts, so to
Mhm.
speak, at some
Yeah,
point. So
yeah.
that's fine. But we also still have to remember to act in our zone of genius and make sure that we resonate with somebody, because if it feels like there's a conflict, it may not be the best fit. And they may be another practitioner that's a better fit. I had one client come to me, this was many years ago, and she had spent over $15,000 on practitioners, tests, all these things. And when she came to me, I'm typically people's last stop shop, so to speak. Like we've tried everything. We're not sure who to reach out to, but somebody gave me your number, that kind of thing. So usually that tends to be the clients that I get. But she had spent over $15,000 on supplements, practitioners, whatever. And when she came in to work with me, she was real hesitant, which I don't blame her. That's more money going out. And after we worked together, it was like maybe 6 weeks or something. I can't remember now. That was a long time ago. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I'd found you before I spent $15,000 on all this mess." And I
That's a
say that to
car, or
say
it
it
used to be
is.
a car.
I mean, we used to be at least a nice used car. Probably not now, but that's sort of my point to all that. Find somebody, have a chat with them, but wasting your time and spinning your wheels for years and years and years, or worse, asking social media where people have very little education on, unless it really is their zone of genius. And usually they're not spending time answering the questions anyway, they're usually seeing clients. It's just really, really important to make sure that you find somebody that resonates with you. And whoever that is, that's perfect as long as they're skilled. Check like on my website, which I'm sure you do this as well. On my website, I have a little thing they can click on. It says my education. Now, I don't list everything because I'd be here, till
You
cows
would
come home.
literally have 50 pages. Literally.
But I know, but what I do is I list the highlights and
Mhm.
and all those things so they can look. I don't
Yeah.
want them to take my word for it. I want them to say, okay, okay, okay,
We
okay.
have people call us to verify that students actually
They
went through the program. Consumers are getting a lot more educated. Clients
yes, and
are
they should.
starting to say, hey, we can verify this stuff. There's places we can
Yep.
call. So I'm always telling students, look, you put your education on there and you
Yep.
invite them
Yes,
to check on
I
you.
do.
Give them that whole cone of safety.
Yes,
So people feel
absolutely.
so much more confident in the industry and in their practitioner. I just
Right.
love that you put that information out there, and you've always been an
I
advocate
always,
of,
yeah.
being clear, and and I've always really liked that about all of the work that I've seen of yours.
Yeah, I've always been known as the no fad zone. I don't do fads. I never have done fads. I'm always look at the research, peer review research, and I want to make sure that at the end of the day, when I lay my head down on the pillow, that not only the content I put out on social media, but my practice, my private practice, my clients, whatever, I want to know that I've done the best that I can, and I've given them 1,000%.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I agree. I think that, look, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to
Nope.
get everything right all the time. Nobody does. But I think, like,
No. Yeah.
we all got to work hard to be as transparent and as clear as possible with clients. And I think that one of the great things is being able to say no to a client, or being able to say,
Yeah.
yeah, no, this
And I
isn't going to
have done
work.
that. I mean,
I
I
know you
have
have.
done
That's
that.
why I remember.
I've said to people, with all due respect, I don't think, here's a resource. Let me see if I can. I have referred people out. Like, I mean, I'm just like, I don't specialize in that. But I know somebody who does. And
Hmm.
I'm more than happy to do that. And I think to me, if a practitioner can't do that, that's more of a red flag
Exactly. I agree with you
to me
100%.
than any, to say, oh no, I know it all and I can do it all. Eh, but can you? So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think it's real important to be ethical in your practice.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. So, what else are you up to lately? Because you are always doing something. So, what
Yeah.
other things can people expect from you soon?
Well, I'm working on the dissertation. So that once it's done, then you got to go through and edit. So even though it's, pretty much done, there's edits and there's all the kinds of things, it's close. But anyway, and then I did publish one book that's being republished now. But it's kind of on the back burner, and it is actually about what my dissertation is on. Um, therapeutics for complex PTSD. The name of it escapes me. I think I call it. We may come up with a new title, but the first time I just self-published it was from Loss to Living: Mind Body Medicine Approach to Recovery from Abuse. But within that mind body medicine model is herbs,
Hmm.
aromatherapy, flower essences, and I pack that in. Now I don't overwhelm people, so I only share like my top three essential
Yeah.
oils,
Yeah.
right? My top three, whatever. I'd like to do the top three because, I could write probably a series of books at this point if you could nail me down, make me sit down
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
enough. But so you can look for that. You can go to the website. I'm always have like a new blog coming out. I have the group program. So, if anybody is struggling with complex PTSD, especially as a highly sensitive person, my next book is going to be on dysautonomia POTS, recovering naturally from that. And
Wow. And
then
that has seen a
probably,
massive uptick in diagnosis.
yes,
I mean,
yes,
like, a
I have
lot.
the kind that's genetic.
Hmm.
But what we're seeing now with different, with long COVID, we're finally seeing, because long COVID, people are being diagnosed with it. And it's actually getting more traction. I'm like, well, I was misdiagnosed for 37 years. I was medically gaslit. So that's going to be the next book. And I may write, and then eventually I do want to write something from a highly sensitive person perspective, which is kind of the other book. But, I've always got two or three books in the mind. That's the problem. I've got so much in there.
I don't think it's a problem. We need more material like that talks
Yeah.
about things that, you know, are
Yeah.
part of our changing and shifting world,
Yeah,
and
and I've been asked now to, I've had a lot of people the last 6 months ish or so. A lot of people have reached out and said, "Will you start teaching herbalism again?" And so I've had a couple conversation with people. Just lack of time is mainly the only reason. I said, if you set up the class, tell me what you want, then I'll come and teach it. As long as it's within my zone of genius. I'll never teach about anything that's not within my zone of genius. But I
Yeah.
think right now, offering classes, local community classes, even just going to the library, even if you just offer, I'm going to do a library free stress class. I've done free classes for like local veterinarians.
Oh, I love that.
So there's so many different ways that we can get our name out there. You don't always have to be free for presentations. You can if
Hmm.
that's something that feels right for you. My veterinarian was like, "Oh no, there's got to be an energetic exchange. We'll work that out. I'm not worried
Yeah.
about the financial part of it in any way, shape, or form. I just want to be a blessing and I want to be a value. And I think that's really where we can shine right now."
Oh, I love that. Yeah, we are definitely, I think, rolling into some interesting areas in our world. It feels like it's changing incredibly fast. I don't know if it's just 'cause
Yeah.
I'm just getting old, but it definitely, I'm like, wait, what's going on? And
Yeah.
I think that people need something that's anchored in realness. And what's more
Yeah.
real than nature and health?
Yeah. And to be honest with you, even if we didn't look at it from an herbal perspective, even if we only looked at it from a mental health perspective, growing plants and being out in the garden and growing, even if you don't, even if you're not interested in that
Horticulture
aspect,
therapy.
that's what I was going to say. You took the words right out of my mouth. Horticulture therapy and nature therapy are valuable tools for our mental health. And right now, mental health issues are skyrocketing.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I'm going to say this. I think a lot of it has to do with this box in front of us. I think
Yeah.
blue light and not getting any fresh air and sunshine. And I actually, a few weeks ago, maybe it's closer to the beginning of the year, I actually said from now on, I'm up with the sun and I'm taking in that red light and sunset. I'm taking in that light. I'm going to
Hmm.
wear, be more proactive about wearing my little blue light glasses when I'm on the
Yeah.
computer. I can't really now because it's kind of weird to have someone talking to you with pink lenses and but my sleep's improved a ton.
Yeah,
Like a ton.
absolutely.
My
Yeah.
melatonin receptors are completely, and I was like, why did
Yep.
no one tell me this before? Like
I mean,
literally
I have,
have a cup of coffee looking at the sunrise. Hello, that's
yeah,
everybody's dream
it's
start of the day
beautiful and
anyways,
wonderful.
or a cup of
Yeah.
tea or whatever. And I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. I just was like, my sleep is so much
I
better.
have,
Just the 10 minutes a day change.
yeah. I actually am a teacher assistant for the school where I'm getting through my doctoral program. And so unless there's a video conference that I have to be on late, everybody knows I'm up with the chick. What is that? I get up with the chickens and go to bed with the birds or whatever the saying
Yeah,
is, you know what
yeah.
I mean?
Hey,
But that's the same way. I'm up at 5 a.m. 99% of the time, unless I need an extra nap or whatever. And at 6 o'clock, the computer goes off, no matter what.
good.
Unless, God forbid the house is burning down and I got to get out or whatever, the computer goes off. I adopted that many years ago. And I'll tell you, it was a huge benefit.
Wow, I love that. I
And then
absolutely love that.
quit the scrolling on, sorry,
Doom scrolling.
doom scrolling. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Replace
look,
that
if
with
it's
little
not
mic.
showing me like someone in their garden, homemade bread,
Thank
or a
you.
cute
Right.
animal thing, I'm not interested. I
But
could
you,
care less.
but you
Show me
you can
a little roly
replace.
poly kitten and I'm good.
I know, right?
Show me
You
some
can replace
dogs.
that with little micro learning,
Yeah.
herbalism or
Mm-hmm.
micro learnings of, whatever you're
Yeah.
interested in. And it's huge. I say this to my clients, and I think I said it in the book as well. But this is true. It's what we do day in, day out that either hurts or heals. It's our daily routine that is either hurting us or healing us.
I love that.
And that is difficult to wrap our head around. But when we have tools that we can do those things to navigate that, oh, wow, what a difference does it make?
Oh, I love that. That's got to be like a new motto for humankind, right?
Yeah.
Make a choice. You gonna hurt yourself or help yourself today?
But if you ask yourself that, does this hurt or heal before you? I mean, I'm not saying you can't have
Yeah.
fun and go. I mean, like I go to karaoke, I got to be honest with you, I might have a little glass of wine if I go to karaoke. It's rare, but I may do that.
Hey, I may
But
be
that's
there next to
okay.
you with the vodka. I mean,
That's
hey,
right.
there's no need for me to be a grown up 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You got to get your dance on, you got to get your groove, and that's good because that does help. That is
Yes,
healing. But what I
absolutely.
mean is it what we doing, destructive
Yeah.
habits? Yeah.
Yeah. And are we loving in a way that's helpful or harmful? And are
Yeah.
we helping each other in a way that's helpful or harmful?
Yeah.
I've always tried to raise my kids with the idea that the work that you do makes a difference.
Hmm.
And
And
are
it does.
you making a difference in a way that you're proud of yourself, or are you making a
Hmm.
difference in a way that I'm just doing this for the money? And there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that approach. We all need
I just
money,
don't know
but
how. Yeah. I mean, we have to pay our
we're
bills,
going to
but
make a bigger impact in the world.
in the long run, just doing it for the money is not going to you're just going to get burned out and whatever and whatever. You've got to be passionate. Like my daughter is like one of the only certified baby wearers in the state of Virginia. That's her passion, and she's great at it. And she does, educational videos and all that kind of stuff. Um, but that is her passion. Now, you can take that and also help people and make money. So that's the
Hmm.
idea. Now, but you got to figure out all the nuances with it. But I think you're right, and there's nothing wrong with also working a 9 to 5 while you're building your passion. Or there's also nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5 and your passion being
Checking
playing
out when you get home.
and just checking out. Yeah, and then after you're home, that's your passion. My time
Yeah,
with my
no,
plants. I mean,
I
yeah,
agree. I just like you're a small business owner too, so you
yeah,
understand what
yeah,
I'm saying, but
yes.
sometimes there is something about leaving work, shutting the light off and going home. And when you own your own ship, you can't always do that.
True.
You
Yeah, I
know.
actually had somebody say to me, "I can't believe you only work 2 days a week." And I understand that they were maybe upset that I couldn't offer them an immediate appointment at that time. But what kind of example am I going to set for my clients if I am going to teach them about boundaries and I am going to teach them about self-healing and I am going to teach them how powerful they are and to stand in their own power if I don't stand in my own power before they even come to me?
Yeah, really, really. That's a good
You
point.
know what
I
I
mean,
mean? So I think it's
don't be
really
a
important.
doormat. Walk all over me.
So I think we have to live it. I think it can be difficult. It can be difficult to live it, especially if you come from a situation where you're, trauma and those type of things. And people pleasing, we know it's a trauma response. But once you kind of work through that stuff and you can stand in your power, I think when you do that, you give permission to other people to do the same. And that's my goal, really, in the end. Whether they just like, I've had people go, I don't want anything to do with aromatherapy, but I want flower essences. What can you recommend? Okay, no worries. I got you covered on that one as well. But helping them stand in their own power in whatever way feels right for them, that's the most important thing.
I agree. And I also find when working with clients that if they aren't able to do that and they don't feel comfortable doing that, sometimes they don't tell you right away if something isn't
Mhm.
working right.
Right.
Because in the past they've been, oh, it's a healing crisis. In the past they've been told all this gobbledygook,
Gosh,
right?
I know. We
And
have
then
so much
you're
to overcome from just crappy marketing.
exactly the sales pitch. But I mean, like, it does allow them to also be like, hey, this isn't working for me.
Hmm.
Let's find a solution. And then you can help them find a solution and you guys
Yeah,
can work together
absolutely.
and be a team and collaboratively be
Yeah.
a unit that's working. So how can
Yeah.
people find you again?
Yeah. KelliHughart.com. It's Kelly with an I, HUGHART.com, or I'm known as Momo Kelly. So you can go to momokelly.com. Again, Kelly with an I. And my phone number is actually 804 yeah hypno, YA hypno. My
Love it.
daughter did that for me because I'm not tech
Oh,
savvy.
I love
So,
that. I love that.
that's my direct line. I may not get back with you right away, but that is my direct line. You can leave a message and then I'll be happy to circle back.
That's awesome. Thank
But
you
I want
so
to
much.
thank you for the work that
Oh,
you're continuing to do and the work that, the beautiful, compassionate, educated herbalist that you put out in the world, because that's powerful.
oh, thanks. That's really sweet of you to say. I really appreciate that. That's really nice. You're making me all, I'm going to turn even
Oh,
pinker over
we're all
here.
going to be, we're all verklempt over here. We're turning
I
red.
know, right? Well, thank you so much for being here today. And
You.
um, do me a favor and
Sure.
get us a link to your book
Okay.
if you can, so we can put it in the bio. If you don't have it and it's not ready yet, whenever it's ready, you send it to me.
Okay.
Everyone's listening. So then I can put it in later so people can find you and the work that you do.
Perfect.
And
Awesome.
send the links to everything else.
Yeah. Sounds
All
great.
right, cool. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thanks. All
Thanks.
right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.